Good morning everyone. I'm going to try a not logged in game and I'm playing as a guest. I am 40 hours into my 3-day dry fast and we have an opponent. So I've got the black pieces and I'm just going to try and hopefully prove to you guys that so I'm not quite awake yet, that knowledge of basic principles can be enough to help you at the beginner level. So, what are we going to do? Nothing, apparently. Okay, we've got a knight out. I'm going to do the same. I could have played d5. Opponent's definitely taking some time here. What are we going to get? Ooh! Right. So he's not contesting the centre at all, but I still can't play my king's knight out and I can't play my king's pawn or queen's pawn. So what are we going to do? Let's push this pawn so that I can then play a pawn into the centre and control squares in the centre. I'm already controlling this square to a degree, and this square as well. And now I can push into the centre. Now what this means is that this bishop can't get out into the board on this diagonal, but I might do the fianchetto, push my pawn to g7, bishop g6. Alright. This bishop can come out now. If I want to, I can pin the knight, but let's just carry on building. Okay, opponent seems to be doing the same. But now I think I will do the pin. The reason is, if he wants to put his bishop here, he can't put it here as well. So what's he going to do? He's got a decision to make now. A little bit sticky and claggy in the mouth. My plan is still to fianchetto my bishop on this side and then castle short. This knight has a couple of squares. He can either pair up with his friend here, or he can come here with the options of coming maybe towards the centre. Okay. This knight is in a pin, which means it can't move without the queen being lost. So the first thing I would ask is, can I attack that knight again? And I can't really. But I could with a knight here. So let's play knight c6 with the idea of maybe coming here and putting pressure on this knight. Now putting the bishop on g2 would defend the knight, but it would still be in a pin. Okay. So this is a little concession from my opponent, pushing these pawns forward on the king's side quite early. Which is going to make it a little bit more precarious to castle this king that way. So if I take the knight here, that's kind of taking on white's terms really, because I eradicate a developed piece and he gets to bring his queen out, so there's no real value in that. I'm going to bring my bishop right back to this square and I might then pair it up with my queen, with the idea that if he goes ahead with the fianchetto and castles, it means the rook is no longer guarding this pawn, and it will be guarded only once by the bishop. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pawn moves in his first 7 moves. 6 pawn moves in his first 8 moves now. Okay, so let's carry on with our plan, the fianchetto and short castles. His knight may come in. Then if I was to capture, he would get to capture with the c pawn towards the centre, also attacking my knight. And there's no real reason to do that. Okay. So let's lift the queen off the back rank. So if he wants to trade his bishop for mine, for my knight, I would then have both bishops. I still have the option of castling either side, by the way. I wouldn't say my opponent's played beginner level so far, but all these pawn pushes do give me slight cause for concern. Okay, out comes the queen. If I go in there and he takes, I take. It puts pressure on the knight. The knight has to move. Knight can't move. Oh, it can move there. Okay. I'm tempted to kick this bishop. Or I could just declare my intentions, maybe long castle, then kick the bishop. I don't want to make the same slight inaccuracy that he's made, really. But I can still castle afterwards. There, if he takes, I'll take back with the bishop. Okay, let's long castle. Fairly comfortable there. So I may put the question to the bishop with pawn h6. If he takes, I take. That leaves me with two bishops. My opponent only has the one, which generally will then mean I'm inclined to try and open up the board, because bishops are more comfortable than an open board. Right, now we have one closed file, which means the pawns are locked together. Neither can make forward progress. So my opponent's grabbed quite a lot of space, particularly on the queen side here. Also, I've got a battery now against this pawn on h3 that's defended twice right now. I've got two attackers, bishop and queen. But it means that, for example, this bishop can't really come here, or I'll lose a pawn. He can't trap me in because I just take that pawn. So he needs to be thinking about getting his king safe at some point. But which way is he going to go? Because pawns have been pushed significantly on both sides. Okay, he takes. So now I'm thinking maybe drop the bishop back, maybe push f5. Start to push with my pawns on the opposite side to the side where my king is castled. Could also drop my bishop back this way, eyeing up this diagonal. There is a pawn break here on d5, but that's very well controlled right now. So I'm not likely to consider that at this point in the game. If his pawn pushes forwards, I can always push mine forwards. It's defended by bishop, queen and rook. So if he pushes, I push, he takes. I take with the bishop. Then pinning this knight here on the rook. Okay, there goes the queen. Kind of targeting this pawn, which is defended by my knight. If this knight comes in here now, I've only got one defense, which is to take with my bishop. He's attacking this bishop, which would be undefended. So I could think about swinging my knight around here to defend against this. I also have this idea though. This is known as a family fork, because I'm attacking the king, the queen and a rook. It's not uncommon in chess. This square also, by the way, defends d5. So let's go for that. I do hang this pawn here. So if the queen takes there, the first thing that I have to do is move my other pawn so that my king can't get checkmated. If the queen gets to a8, I'm checkmated. But I do have this idea as well. Maybe I should have moved my king across first before that idea. If I get the chance, I might play king b8. So it's probably inaccurate for me, that move, because it does literally give up a pawn. And quite an important pawn, because it's on the side where my king is castled. b6 is also playable, but my opponent still has a light squared bishop, so I'd be weakening the light squares if I move that. It means the bishop would potentially have this square. So what I didn't do there is I didn't consider the fact that my knight was defending. Okay, so he's moved back. This is all good. I was a little bit nervous about that, I confess. Okay, so now there's no threat against this, so I'm not forced to play king b8. Also, the bishop isn't about to enter the game anytime soon. So I think what I'm going to do is drop my bishop back, then maybe prepare the move f5. If this knight moves, then this knight is under attack, and we have to acknowledge that it's not currently defended. Okay, the knight goes there, so the knight is under attack. So I could just move my knight back here. I think I will. Knight attacks a7, but like I say, that's fine. The queen now can't come into either of these squares because of my knight. Okay, but she's attacking that way. Interesting move. Okay, so I think it's time for king b8. So now if the knight takes, he just loses a knight for a pawn. Takes, that's fine. The knight is defended, but I still have a6. a6, he still can't play his knight there because he loses it and doesn't even get a pawn. So if I push that, he can't go there. The knight will have to come back to either a3 or c3, probably c3, because knights are better towards the centre of the board. But pretty solid play so far from white, although we have to acknowledge he's played 15 moves and he's not castled his king. And he hasn't got a really safe place to castle it too. I mean, there's a load of fresh air around the king there. I think this is my general plan now. Or just kick the knight back first. Interesting. Another pawn push. Now I can't allow this. This is a pawn fork on bishop and knight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to capture here. And this is just on the principle of opening up the board. The opponent's king is still in the middle of the board. My king is not. If I take and queen takes, I could even push c5. I'm gonna capture there. Now my knight is gone, so there is a threat here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to push c5, hitting the queen and blocking off this line here. My opponent's position, can you see it's starting to look really fragmented, whereas mine is still relatively coordinated. It's tight. Everything's kind of defended. Rooks are connected. My opponent's rooks are not connected, so both of them are undefended right now. Queen can't take the rook there because my rooks are connected. So we're all good. You can't push there because the queen has to move first. Might even consider bringing this rook across to e8 so it's lined up against my opponent's king. Okay, so I noticed that the queen and the king are in alignment, so I'd love to put a bishop there. I can't right now. However, if I play bishop f6, I'm hitting this rook. That will force the rook to move because he can't block with this pawn. He could block with a knight. Let's kick the knight away first. So he's only got a light squared bishop, so putting my pawns on light squares right now means that there are fewer squares where his bishop can visit on the board. So this knight now has to go back. Now I could play bishop f6. That would pin the knight on the rook. Again, the basic idea is going to be trying to open up the center of the board and attack up here. I've got two major pieces, queen and rook, already there. Rook here, maybe f5, or an immediate f5. If he takes there, I take with my bishop, and things are starting to open up. If he doesn't take, if he pushes forwards, I take, our queens are facing off. Let's centralize the rook anyway. Just feels sensible. Okay, we have finally the bishop fianchettos onto that square. Now what I would love to do is actually block this pawn for now, but just to kind of impede the bishop. However, on principle, I want to open up the center as well. So f5 now. If he takes, I'm very happy. It means that two of the pieces on the e-file have gone, and then the minute I move my bishop, that comes with the discovered check. Now I have to calculate now. If I push, he pushes. I take. Then my pawn could go to there. It's a very strong center. Okay, let's do it. Push, push. The queens could come off, but then I've still got two central rooks. And we've got rid of the central pawn. You think about his knight coming into this square, defended by two pawns. Can still pin the knight now. I think this move makes a lot of sense still. Pinning the knight on the rook. Wowzers. Okay, now remember what we said very early on. If he should have a castle, the rook comes away from h1, so it's no longer defending h3. Therefore, the pawn on h3 is defended only now by the fianchetto bishop. So if I take here, or even if I push, I can win this pawn. Now pushing doesn't make a load of sense because the queen will capture. But I still like bishop f6, pinning the knight down. It's one of my opponent's better pieces. My bishop, however, right now isn't doing a fat lot. If I do that and he pushes still though. If I take, knight takes, bishop here. So now it's not so much about opening up the board because the king's gone over there, but it has created a liability on this side here. Here he can't push the pawn, so I'm going to play bishop f6. If he pushes, I take with the bishop, well, potentially also with the pawn, with the idea of then moving my pawn forwards and denying this bishop scope, but maintaining my bishop scope. So if push pawn takes is an idea, we might trade queens. Again, this is not a beginner level game from white. I found that in the last kind of random anonymous dogging game I did, where my opponent played with 1800 accuracy. And I managed to prevail by playing 2200 accuracy. Still have to consider what happens if this knight comes in now. It hits this bishop, but it does actually hang the rook, so that's kind of the point of that move, isn't it? Bishop here is also an idea. Defended by a pawn, lined up against the king. So I've got behind all of his pawns as well. So that's called an outpost, when there's no pawn that can harass the bishop on either of these squares. Okay, he comes in, which hangs the rook. And what's he attacking? He's only attacking that bishop. Let's have the rook. He can't even come here forking rook and queen, because the bishop can come back and capture. So if he uses his rook to capture here, I might just take out the knight. He takes with one of these pawns. The centre is now nicely open. The knight could come here and attack my queen, but then I can just move to one of these squares, hit the knight again, which makes life hard because he can't then recapture the bishop because he's got to save the knight as well. Okay, he's done that. Just considering this. Should I put my queen on c7? It doesn't really matter. c7 though, there's nothing wrong with that. Even if he pushes his pawn, I just win the knight. So, yeah. Now he's got two pieces. No, he hasn't. He's got one piece that he really needs to recapture because he's lost his rook. But he's got another problem here. The knight goes there, I'll take it. If he takes the bishop, I'll take his knight. I'm still up a rook. If he takes here, I can just casually recapture with the bishop. So here we have, I think, hopefully, a critical mistake, and he resigns. That's it. Simple as that. Simple as that. Okay, let's take it over to an analysis board and have a look. Okay, so here we are, I've logged in now with an analysis board. I'll take off the headers, that doesn't really matter, from the PGN. And I'm going to flip the board because we were black in this game, and let's have a look at the review. So, chess.com here, engine doesn't know, doesn't know who was playing. And it's given us 74.3 for white, so I'm saying that is not beginner level. And 85 for me. Estimates the ELO at 1550 for white and 1900 for me, so quite happy with that. You see, up to this point, it's actually giving complete equality. So my opponent did play really well, but this was just a blunder. Okay, so let's go over the game. Not going to learn an awful lot about beginner play because my opponent played pretty solid. Book moves, book move. E4 is good. That's inaccurate, but I could have played C5. The point of C5 is really stamping down on this square here. So he simply can't put his pawn there, it gets taken outright. The knight can't take because there's another pawn to capture. Okay. He does the same, prepares to fianchetto. Slightly inaccurate. Okay, going for this kind of quite a bind situation in the centre. But he plays that. Knight c6 is good. There was something better. Only marginally better. If it's within half a pawn difference, you can ignore. Okay, kicks me. I come back to there. Not the best move. Okay, so it's saying take here. Bringing the queen out into the board. Oh, and then we have this. Ooh. Is that right? Is that the right move? No, bishop h6 first, apparently. But actually, knight d4 is just as good. I didn't see that. Didn't see that tactic at all. Hitting the queen. The queen actually has to come back to d1. Now I've got a knight on an outpost. Notice these pawns have both moved too far forwards. Interesting idea. Anyway, that's not what we did. I retreated. Fianchetto. That's okay. That's fine. It said I could have kicked the bishop as well. And now long castles. That is the mistake that I made. It's saying h6 first. Because now he has knight d5. This knight is actually pinned because of the rook there. So if knight d5, I take, c takes, this knight's under attack, and I have to come back, which is similar to the position we kind of ended up in. Okay, so I didn't like that. Shouldn't have traded off there. I agree. Queen e3 is a mistake. And yeah, there we go. Blunder from me. Because queen takes a7 now. Wins the pawn. I could actually bring my knight back. Oh, it's saying queen c6. That's a better move. I was thinking pawn c6. Queen c6 also works. Because if he checks me, I come here. My pawn is defended. And I'm still threatening a fork. Interesting. So what it's saying here, actually, the engine is saying, if he takes here and I play queen c6, he then long castles. And we're still very much got a game on there. Okay, so I do that. He retreats, which is not the right idea. He should have taken. I dropped the bishop back. It said this diagonal was preferable, but 0.8 of a pawn difference, actually. Knight comes in, I retreat. King over's best. So you can see this is very much a kind of a game of patience, a waiting game. Both of us had opportunities to be a lot more attacking. Okay, I take, which is fine. Said you could have kicked the knight as well. Trades off, and now c5, and this whole idea of this pressure down here is gone. Queen retreats, I kick. Saying f5 now is good. I still don't play f5, it still wants me to play it. Now I play it and it says it. All the right moves, just not necessarily in the right order. Okay, and there we go, that is our blunder. All right, hangs the rook. He comes here and wow. But still, it's all winning now. Okay. He takes. Did I play that move? No. Hang on. Queen c7. Okay, and that is the end of the game, actually, yeah. That was the end of the game. And it could have continued this way. Alright, I get it. But I would have probably just taken there. So there you go. I don't know how much there is to learn from that. Again, not a beginner game from white. So not too much to go at there. But the point is this move. This was the game-deciding blunder. What the machine's saying is he should take here, and he's still equal. And after I take back with the bishop, the knight's still pinned on the rook. Now he moves his king. This is a move to remember, actually. I've been seeing this more and more recently. But two bishops. Now we have the wide open board. My rooks and my queen are in the centre. I would say this is quite a bit better for black. Point of king h2 is this adding a second defender to this pawn, of course. But yeah, we still play on from there. So very decent game, very decent quality of game there. And as usual, all decided by one critical blunder. But yeah, I have a blunder in there as well, so just 1900 for me today. It says I blundered. No, it didn't. I'm black, aren't I? Night before, that was my blunder, yeah. Didn't consider that. So yeah, I hope you guys took a couple of tips and pointers from that. Hope it's been useful. Thanks for watching, see you later.